But
Can you tell me how many of these typing sessions you've seen before?
a lot, probably more than I should, actually.
Okay, cool.
I,
So, if can you tell me what's do you have a tab open right now with YouTube open?
no.
Uh,
Oh yeah, I do
can
actually.
you tell me what's in your recommended videos?
Oh, that's an interesting one. That's not. That's
N-
a first.
yeah, I've never asked this question before.
Um, how to draw stickers in Procreate. How to color characters step by step in Procreate. Um, how to create digital products that generate at least X. Animation basics. Uh, cut paper effect in Procreate. How to learn to code when you have no time.
Do you have any non app using coding recommended videos?
Um, there's a phone creator reacts to incredible Instagram video.
Okay. So do you like to
And
watch videos where people have have big emotional responses to things, or is that just not really well suited to you, but it's there anyway?
yeah, this is a random. That one's a random one. Like,
Okay.
I don't normally watch reactions videos. I'm
Okay.
more functional. I'm more watch knowledge based, functional things, something I can learn from.
I mean, I definitely watch those kind of app videos when I run into a problem that I can't figure out. But other than that, I don't watch those kind of videos on YouTube. It's like if I can't figure out how to what was it? I couldn't figure out how to make my. You know how sometimes the video is backwards, like it's mirrored. How the
Yeah,
words are like a mirror. I couldn't
yeah,
figure out how in Windows Movie Maker to flip it around like that. So I watched a video on how to do
yeah.
that. Okay, that's irrelevant, Eric. Stop. Okay, can you tell me a sequence of small events from yesterday?
Sure. Got up, made the kids breakfast, got their lunch ready, um, went to the gym, um, came home after the gym, had a protein shake, and continued working. Uh,
What was inside the protein shake? Did you make it from a package, or did you make it yourself out of putting different ingredients together?
uh, well, I normally do the same thing for the protein shake. Like I just have a kind of recipe that I created that I like. But I think yesterday I just did a quick one. Like I just added the the almond milk, the protein, and peanut butter powder, and just had that.
And the leg of lamb.
The leg of lamb? No, no.
That would probably
What?
have a lot of protein in it, I would guess, if you blended up some lamb in there.
Yeah, but probably not taste the best.
Probably not. Yeah, lamb's a bit gamey. Do you like lamb?
Yeah, love lamb. I
You
do. I
do.
love.
Of
Yeah,
all the main eating animals, your cow, your chicken, your pig, your sheep, which do you eat the most often?
cow. Probably chicken because it's the cheapest and most easiest to get. But if I could, I would eat lamb the most, or yeah, lamb because it's nice and soft.
Do you like or dislike fish?
I don't particularly like it, but I don't dislike it. Like I don't mind it. But it's not something like, oh yeah, I want some fish. Like yeah, no.
What's your preferred grain? Some kind of rice-ish thing or bread?
Uh, I would. Oh, I don't know. That's an interesting one. I never thought about it like that.
Oh, there's
I
a
don't.
third option, potato. Potato's your third option.
I don't really mind. Like between those, I don't really like it. It serves the purpose of getting me full. That's all that I care about. Like I
Sweet
don't.
potatoes or regular potatoes? Do you have a preference
Yeah.
there?
Okay. If you have to go there, then yeah, sweet potato.
Okay, yeah. Well, granted, nobody wants to eat sweet potatoes, but you prefer sweet potatoes?
Yeah, I love sweet
Oh,
potato.
okay. You're on
I
the
love
wrong side of the potato war, my friend.
I love, I love sweet potato, man.
Oh,
That
I can't stand
was
them.
the best. Sweet potato fries.
Oh,
If you
they're
had
the
sweet
worst.
potato fries, what? Oh,
No. Okay. All right. So you know what? Here's an area where it's fine for us to agree to disagree.
oh brilliant.
All right. Uh, so in general, though, you tend to think that eating is primarily a necessary thing rather than a desirable activity to spend time doing.
Yeah, I mean, if I think about how I normally consume food, it's more as fuel rather than. Of course, I like nice food also. I wouldn't like not care at all, but the main purpose is to feed my body.
Right. Okay. Let me grab my coffee out over here.
Uh,
Actually, I didn't even fill it up yet. All right, there. Fill that. It looks like I already put the creamer in advance. That's good. Can I ask you to tell me your standard demographic stuff, like job, school, like plans for the future?
sure. Yeah. I'm a UX designer. I completed school, but I did study. I studied information technology, so basically IT, which is programming, but ended up in a UX designer job. So I have both design knowledge and coding knowledge, which is kind of a nice pair to have because I can think of something to create and create it, which I love.
What's UX?
UX design, so user experience design. So it's thinking about not necessarily just visuals, but also thinking about how users will use a product. So like a website, how can you make it easier for them to use um, like a site? Like for example, um, recently something I did maybe is adding a uh, like you say you have a drop down, like a drop down, like I'm not sure,
Yeah,
like a
sure.
drop down menu.
Yeah.
Say you have a site where it's sorting, or you site where you can buy uh, clothes, and there's a drop down menu, and it just says recommended, right? And most of the people will know this is a sort because all the other websites have a sort option, and this is normally where you find a sort option. But maybe it would be better if you add sort in front of the sort option to make it super obvious for the really, really dumb, not dumb, but like people that needs a little bit more guidance. So I try to figure out those type of things with you. That's the simplest example, like making it easier to find what you're looking for on a website is one of the tasks of a UX design. Just one, but it's very broad.
Hmm. Uh, I always thought Google is amazing at not cluttering shit.
Yeah, yeah. I
Uh,
love Google.
I love Google so much. In fact, I've always had just PayPal, and somebody said, um, "What do you can you accept this?" Blah, blah, blah. I said, "These are the things I can do," and that's it. And she said, "Well, can you do Google Pay?" I said, "Okay, well, you know what? Actually, if it's Google, I'll go ahead and get Google Pay
Yeah,
because
yeah.
Google's good. I like Google, so okay, I got it on my phone." Um,
Trustworthy.
All right, so that's a good job. It sounds like you're doing good. You're like doing God's work, making websites less annoying.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I try to make it easier for people to get what they want.
I'm the guy who needs the sort there, by the way. I'm very word based. So
That's the thing. That's the thing.
that sort you put there. I was one of the people who had helped. Okay.
Exactly.
Um. So how much of your work is spent in isolation, just on the computer doing by yourself stuff? Almost all of it,
Well,
or do you have a lot of meetings and stuff?
yeah, I have a couple of meetings, but most of my day is in isolation, just working, and I prefer it that way. I like being alone and having my own thing.
How easy is it for you to stay on task?
Recently, very difficult. But it depends. There's some times where if I have everything clear, then it's easy to stay on task. But as soon as I have my system not in check, then I'm very all over the place. So I need my system to be like super good. I have my to-do lists, and I go running down through the tasks. Then and if I have a clear overview of what I want and what is needed, the outcomes, then I can stay on task easily. But yeah, it's difficult otherwise.
Okay, so would you say then, if you're working with a client, the number one overarching frame is you need to have clarity about what it is they want?
Exactly. Yeah, I found that without clarity, I'm a big mess.
Yeah. Okay. Do people typically come to you with specific problems to solve, or do they come to you with non optimal realities to optimize?
I think in my line of work, it's a bit of both. So you have your instant. I think most of the time it's optimizing non-optimal things, but then you also have the unknowns, like, hey, we have this whatever, and how can we um, create it, or what is the vision for our product in the next X years, or stuff like that.
Hmm. I see. Um, so, do you do anything creative besides your work as like a hobby, or because you do a lot of creative stuff during your work that you do like to just do more physical stuff in your free time?
Well, in my free time, I like to draw. I have a guitar here that I'm learning. It's very frustrating, but I'm getting there. And I play golf, or recently started playing golf, which is also nice. Um, what else do I do? I mainly stick to like a couple of things, and then it kind of revolves, it kind of switches interest the whole time. So I have like one thing that I'm dedicated to that, and then like the guitar, and then I'll be like super on the guitar. And then I have drawing, and then I'm super on drawing, and then it just switches interest like that.
Now, do you cycle through these interests, retaining some of them, and then casting some of them aside, but some of them persist? Like, uh, will you come around again to another guitar phase followed by another golf phase, or do you go through that phase and then once you're through it, you abandon it forever? Or you're not sure yet because you're not that old yet?
Yeah, no, I cycle through them, and I return to them. Like I had a phase where I was super into MBTI, and I was watching your videos like probably every day for multiple times, probably too much. That's why I say I watch it too much. And then I'm like, oh man, this is getting too much. I need to switch. And then I switched to, I don't know, maybe guitar or something. And then I learned a bit of guitar, and then I got, this is frustrating now. I hit that point of frustration. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do something else. And then I do drawing, and then I hit the point of frustration and I do something else. So and then I keep switching.
I see. um, how much of what you're doing? It sounds like you've got pretty good control of your own free time. Like, how much do you feel uh, like you're willingly, but it's not your favorite thing in engaged in activities with your family or other group that you're doing out of a sense of obligation.
Mhm. If I understand the question correct, it's um, how much you spend with the other people versus
Yeah,
oh,
for example, how are you subject to this sort of scenario at any point where, say, my girlfriend says, you know, it's my mom and dad's 20th anniversary, and it's really important for me that you're there tonight. And I know you said you wanted to go bowling with the guys, but I really would like you to be there. How often does that happen to you?
not much,
Okay.
not too often. Especially with COVID, I think there's not a lot of that happening right now. So
Right. Okay. So you feel like you've got good autonomy in terms of making decisions about how to spend your free time.
yeah,
All right. How regular are your sleeping hours? Do you go to bed at the same time every night? Wake up at the same time in the morning, or do you does it wildly vary, or does it start to move around the clock?
well, before it was not so good, but I've recently, not recently, like for a long time now, had a kind of period for sleeping. Like I say, oh yeah, I want to go sleep at around 11:30 or 11, and then by that time I make sure that I'm kind of going. But sometimes I do carry on working like into the night if I'm very focused on something, and then of course that goes out of the window. But most of the time I have a fixed sleeping pattern.
I see. Okay, I'm going to give you a long sentence, and I'd like you to collapse it. Give me a quick summary of it. Okay.
Okay,
Now here's the long sentence.
I suck at this, by the way.
Okay. For a lady who's taken on the task of educating children by becoming a public school teacher, it's critically important that she go into the job with clarity about why she's there and what represents uh, a good outcome in terms of her performance as it relates to the children she's been tasked with educating. Without that, it's impossible for her to attain good outcomes.
Yeah, that's why I say I suck at this, because my listening skills are not very good. Like I keep forgetting what I'm hearing, but the gist of what I'm getting is a lady working in a public school system. I think you said that needs to have clarity over of what she needs to do so that the outcomes um, is aligned to what she needs to do.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, I think the quick summation of it would be teachers should know what they're doing.
Yeah. Okay. I forgot what, like, as you were saying it, I was already forgetting what you were saying.
Well, see, the thing is, all the whole first part of it is just an extended, unnecessarily verbose way of saying a teacher or a lady who works in the public school system with the intent to educate the children she finds therein and she's been tasked with working with. Well, that's just a long way of saying teacher.
Okay. So
um,
what do you test with that?
I'm sorry, say again?
I'm, I'm very curious. What do you test with that? Like,
That's an NI test.
uh,
It's one of the only NI tests I have, really, that seems to directly test NI. And when I last tested an ESTJ, they gave me an answer very similar to what you just gave me. I mean, my gut was nowhere near ESTJ before asking that question, but I will say I've only been asking it for a teeny little bit of a while, so I don't really know what it links to, how much it links to it, or anything. It's a new thing as of within like a week ago or something.
Ah, okay,
So
that's interesting.
I wouldn't put any weight on it. I'm not going to use it to justify any conclusions about you, really. But it's
No,
curious to see. Let's try it the other direction. I'm going to say a short sentence, and I want you to say it in a super long-winded way.
okay,
I like cats.
I like cats. Hmm. I have this affectionate appreciation for furry animals with whiskers.
Okay. Um, let's play the invention game. I have a new invention, and I'd like you to come up with some good names, marketing names for it. Okay. And my invention is it's a stick of deodorant that that warns you when somebody else has used it between the last time you used it and now. So it's got some sort of sensor on it. It's like basically it's got on it a face identification technology, except it's for armpits instead. And it has a blinking light that goes on if some armpit other than your own has touched it to prevent you from having to share a deodorant.
Hmm. Interesting. That's an interesting invention. Um, I'm just getting random words coming to my head. With your pit. Oh, I don't know even what mean. Um, Nothing is coming to mind. Wow.
Not
So
much. Not much is coming to mind for me. And so this one is not a particularly fertile one to come up with names for. First, I thought of pit protector, but
pit protector. Pit, pit protector. Lock. I was gonna say lock your arm, but that doesn't make a thing. Hmm. A deodorant that detects if other people is gonna use it.
hmm
Stay cool, not a fool. Um, Not sure if that works.
okay. The disarm pit.
This disarm pet.
Okay, let's try some other kind of question. So can you tell me about the kind of media you consume when it's just for entertainment? You're not trying to learn anything. So, are you more likely to consume like sitcoms, horror movies, music, maybe like you know romantic dramas, something like that kind of thing?
um, I don't consume a lot of that, but what I do consume is shows like The Voice.
Hmm. What do you like
Yeah.
about the voice?
I just like the music, the like seeing new artists, like just having their unique, um, their unique abilities, changing songs into their unique, and you kind of get that their vibe. I don't know, like their uniqueness
Okay.
from the song music.
Do you find it gets more boring as the season goes along because you've heard them too many times now?
It depends on them. So yes, some of them it does get boring. But for example, there's one, I think the current season of The Voice, who is like what is it? What's the name called? of the band. It's a band that's in there, and they're pretty awesome every single time. Like they're pretty. I know that if they go on, they're gonna have a good show. Or like it's like they're so good. So yeah,
Gotcha.
I'm curious to what they're gonna do next.
Interesting. Okay. So, let me ask about values a bit. So, do you think it's more important for people around you to uphold a value of reliability or to uphold a value of originality, creativity?
Around me, probably reliability.
Okay. How about within yourself? Do you think it's easier for you to be reliable or original?
Um, I think it's easy for me to be reliable also, but also original. But yeah, probably easier to be reliable.
Okay. What makes you angry at yourself? Let me just ask it open ended first. What makes you angry at yourself? If you do meow or say meow or don't do or say meow.
Um, if my assumptions make me in a bad place, so this is the most frustrating part for me. If I um, assumed something and I didn't clarify it, and I get hit in the head with because I didn't because I assumed something.
Okay. All right. So you failed to ask a question you should have asked, which would have afforded you clarification.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Um, so can you think of a specific example of a time that occurred?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like my memory is not very good, so for me to go back there and get it, it's a bit hard. But let me try. I can't think of anything. Yeah, like I said, I have a terrible memory. Like that also frustrated me. Like I can't remember things. Um, Example of where I assumed something and something else happened.
Can you give me an example of having witnessed somebody else in a similar situation where you watch them go, "Oh, you meant meow? I thought you meant meow."
Ah, yeah, my son yesterday. So we don't have this explicit rule that you should not eat um, uh, cookies or something before you eat dinner. It's not explicit, but I did tell him before, or actually, it's not explicit that you shouldn't eat the cookie at your daycare before you come home for dinner. It's not explicit, but I did tell him before, hey, before dinner, um, before or in how do you put this? You sh- the other time I gave him a specific example. So I went to pick him up and he was at a party, so we had some things to eat. And I told him, hey, you should not eat this now because you're gonna have dinner. And I assume that actually there I also assume you should take this information and apply it to anything general. Like it could be at school, it could be anywhere, right? And so yesterday I went to pick him up and I see them all eating cookies. And I'm like, hey, why are you guys eating cookies? We're going to have dinner now. And he said, no, but you didn't say eat it at school. So I,
Okay,
I
so
think his assumption was wrong.
how did you react to that lawyering?
Um, yeah, I just told him like, hey guys, you're gonna eat dinner now, so
Do,
not really
do,
something
do you think
bad.
he do you think that he genuinely failed to generalize, or do you think that he just said, "Hey, you left me an out here. You didn't specify."
Yeah, I think he wanted the specificity of that, but for me it was more like the school has been giving them also these cookies a lot, and I thought that it was them asking for it the whole time. But actually, I found out yesterday that the guy at the school just gives them cookies, so it's not them actually
Right.
asking for it like I thought.
I see. Um, were they still hungry for dinner after they had eaten the
Yeah,
cookies?
they still ate it. I don't make a big deal of it. I just told them like, hey, it's probably better not to eat sweet stuff or cookies and stuff before dinner so that you can finish your food, but they still finish the food.
Okay. Does it matter to you at all whether your wh- whether your kid genuinely didn't understand that this indication of yours was to be generalized, or whether he did understand but also saw that you had left you had failed to cover this ground so he could escape through that, and so then later say, "Hey, you didn't say that." So, meh, 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 meh. Does it matter
So,
which one of those it is?
so does it matter whether somebody finds a loophole in your generalizations?
Well, I mean, like if you tell your kid, "Hey, don't don't eat restaurant food before dinner," and then he doesn't apply it to school. In scenario one, he genuinely was just didn't think that applied to school because you didn't specify. In scenario two, he knew you meant that included school, but remembered that you didn't specify and said, "Well, therefore, if he wants to bust me, I'm gonna say, well, you didn't say anything about school."
Yeah, I think I just laugh at the second part because one of my sons is like that. He finds these things, but I just laugh at it. Like, I just think, that's your way of doing things. I don't really mind. Like, I'm not very strict on that. I just want to do what's best for them. I want them to think uh, of what's best for them also, or I'm trying to help them think what's best for them, but they should figure that stuff out on their own.
So, what do you make of that thing that you say one of your kids does that I just described cognitive function wise? How would you explain it?
The loophole finding,
Yeah,
yeah, I have no idea. What is that? Is that NE?
that's TI. I mean, it may have
Yeah.
some NE depending on how much creativity is required to find the loophole, I guess. But by and large, it's a TI thing, lawyering, you know.
Ah,
So,
interesting.
and when I asked you initially about like the distinction, you gave me an answer that didn't really answer it, and then when I clarified, you gave me an example of of your kid, and you answered the question by saying it doesn't really matter to you because it's just his way of doing things or dealing with something. There's an interesting. There's a couple of interesting replies that would suggest to me backside rather than frontside TI, but I don't know yet. I'm still kind of up in the air about you. Um, can you tell me about how you're feeling physically right now? Do you have any aches and pains, scrapes and bruises, or are you feeling tip top shape, or what?
Um, I've had like back pain for since forever. Um, so that is a constant. It's like a constant back pain, but I don't know how else to describe it.
Okay. Do you yawn a lot before you go to bed, or do you find yawning contagious? If I were to yawn, would you start yawning?
I don't know. I don't know. I think so. I think so.
When you wake up in the morning, do you go like this? or some equivalent to stretch, or do you wait till you get out of bed and maybe do some formal stretching?
Well, I deliberately stretch, um, but I don't know if I go like that.
Okay.
But like I deliberately, as of recently, I deliberately stretch because of my back. I want to get it better. But before I didn't care.
Okay. Do you have trouble falling asleep?
Not really. No.
Okay. And how many hours of sleep do you need to be fully functional the next day?
Mm, yeah, it depends. Sometimes I don't get a lot of sleep and then I'm still functional, um, but not in a great mood. Or sometimes I have just little sleep and can be functional. But I would say I need a fair bit of good night's sleep.
Okay. What makes you more cross at yourself? If you're decided to move something across the room, a piece of furniture, you pick it up, you start walking, and then you realize you failed to move out of the way something that is going to prevent you from carrying it across the room successfully. That's thing number one. Thing number two is you stub your toe on your way back to putting it down. Which part of those reality that you unsuccessfully prepared to move the thing before you prepared it, or that you stubbed your toe while doing the job annoys you more?
Unsuccessfully prepare before moving it or stubbing your toe. Makes me the most frustrating.
Yeah. Which for for which of those two things are you more stern in your darn you self?
Um, moving or stubbing toe. Moving or stubbing toe.
Well, it's not the moving; it's the fact that you. It's like it should be a. You should go move the thing out of the way, go get the thing, and then move it across the room. Instead, you went go get the thing, pick it up. Oh
Uh,
shit! Put it down,
oh,
move the thing out of the way, and then so yeah.
yeah, that one probably. Um, yeah, it would be frustrating to. I'm like, oh my goodness. The other one would make me angry probably, but the other one would be like, oh, you stupid ass.
Mm.
Like,
So, do you think that people perceive you as approachable?
at first, not.
Okay.
Like many people that I've spoken to and that I've like heard their opinions of me is that at first they think that I am very um, what you call it, very like blocked and very intimidating. But as they know me, they see that I'm totally different. I'm fun and easy.
Okay, you're easy, huh? um, it, is that what it says on your dating profile?
Easy.
I'm easy.
I'm easy going. Yeah, probably not.
Okay. So do you feel as though you would like there to be more hours in the day,
Yes, please.
or fewer things to do?
Fewer things to do,
Yeah, more hours in the day or fewer things to do?
more hours.
Okay.
I have a very uh, love-hate relationship with time. Like, yeah, time is not my friend. I want to do more, but somehow there's not enough time to do more.
What's more experientially satisfying? Doing something like skiing or getting in the warm bath after the long day of skiing?
Ooh. I actually skied before one time, um, but that if it was skiing, probably not, because skiing is not for
Not
me.
not specifically skiing. Whatever kind of physical thing that is like it could be sailing a boat. It could be I don't know, playing tennis. It could be parkour. You look like a parkour aficionado. It could be.
Parkour. What is that? Oh,
It's
the
like
climb.
jumping around from building to building and stuff.
Oh, yeah, that would be cool. But no, I can't do that.
Could
But
be
yeah, I
hang
also like to
gliding.
relax. Yeah, I like all of that stuff, but I like to relax also, and I think I value maybe relax more.
Okay.
Maybe the hot bath, maybe that's nicer.
So describe yourself content. It's it's 6 p.m. on a Tuesday and you are content. Describe what's going on.
I'm content. I would probably have completed what I wanted to complete in terms of my whatever I wanted to get done. Maybe coding something, or finishing a drawing, and that make me content, because then at 6 p.m. and I'm done, and now that thing is done. At least what I wanted to get done is done.
Okay. So having completed tasks would I would think would produce a feeling of satisfaction. How, are you saying that satisfaction is persistent throughout the evening, such that you could call it contentment?
What's it? Content? What does it? What does it mean then?
Like
Like, sorry,
everything's
I'm
fine.
struggling with language.
Everything's fine. I don't want anything other than what is going on right now. I'm not I'm not restless. I'm not tired. I'm not anything bad, and I'm perfectly happy and satisfied with where I am and what I'm doing. So what you told me is the following precondition for not being stressed out or whatever will have been met, right? But
Hmm.
you haven't actually told me, like, so okay, let's say you've gotten all your tasks done and you're sitting down at your house at 6:15 on a Tuesday, and all of a sudden a Bengal tiger breaks into your house and starts tearing up your furniture. So in that context, even though you've gotten all of your tasks done, you're probably not going to be experiencing contentment. Maybe excitement, maybe enthusiasm, even, or maybe fear, but probably not contentment.
Okay, I see what you mean. All right, then I'll probably be sitting on a mountain somewhere with nothing around. Is that what you mean?
And what
Like
would you be
content?
doing there then?
I'll just be sitting there.
What would be going on in your What would be going on in your mind?
I have no idea. Probably whatever. I don't know. Just be there, looking at whatever there is, or just
I mean,
yeah,
would the weather have to be nice?
yeah. Of course,
Okay, the
yes.
weather has to be nice. Okay.
Okay, there's a lot of conditions actually that apply to that one also. Um, but oh, actually, maybe that's also satisfying.
So
I don't
you're
know, but
saying you don't have to necessarily be doing something or be being entertained by something to be content.
yeah, I don't know. Then, like, maybe I'm
No,
not.
that's a fine answer. I'm just asking you to say, yeah, that's what you mean. You don't need to be. There doesn't need to be anything occupying your attention entertainment wise, nor do you need to be doing anything or saying anything or listening to anything. Just looking at things is enough to make you content.
Yeah, maybe I don't know. Like, maybe I'm not content.
No, I'm not calling it into question. I think it's impressive because I'm I'm not nearly that easily satisfied.
Yeah, I know. I think I'm calm. Like, I'm a
You seem
calm
calm.
person.
How do you feel emotionally right now?
A little bit nervous,
Okay.
but yeah, I'm. much less nervous than before. I think I'm a bit calm.
And how do you think I feel emotionally right now?
I have no idea.
Okay. Um, do you feel as though if I were to ask a couple of random people to who knew you reasonably well to describe you, what are some of the adjectives they'd likely use? Assuming they're your friends, they're going to try to say generally nice things about you.
Hmm. Well, they will probably say what I give them, like because I'm very reserved. So they will only say what I show, which is um, maybe chilled guy. The only the people that really know me. Otherwise, they would not think I'm chilled. Um,
So give me an example of somebody who would think you're not chill.
Somebody that maybe first met me might think that I'm intimidating or awkward. Um,
Okay.
yeah, awkward. I'm pretty much awkward unless you know who I am. Then you know. Oh yeah, that's just me.
Can you think of specific examples of instances where you believe you came across as awkward?
Yeah, lots of times uh, I say things that's probably not the right timing to say it. Like I cannot think of an example now, but I know that happens a lot. Where that's why I try to keep quiet most of the time, in order not to say things to upset people or um, say things in the wrong timing. My timing is off most of the time.
Okay. Can you break down the task of making a chicken dinner into exactly 5 steps?
Making a chicken dinner. So the dinner would be like chicken, uh, corn, right? Like
You can define chicken dinner however you'd like. You want specificity from the client, fine. I define my chicken dinner as involving fried chicken with mashed potatoes, not sweet potatoes, and gravy.
chicken in with mashed potatoes with potatoes and okay,
Fried chicken, mashed potatoes, and gravy. That's chicken dinner.
okay. In how many steps?
5.
5 steps. So I would wait. Let me first think about this. So I would collect all the things that, like all of those things you mentioned, that you want in the dinner for the chicken. Um, Prepare those ingredients and then uh, pre- like serve them in a plate that is eatable for the chicken. Um, Take it to the chicken or chickens. Is that step 3 already?
You're on step 4 now. Yeah, that was step 4. We're going to step 5. You've you've already completed making
What?
them and everything. So, let me try another question. Can you describe? Can you break smoking a cigarette into exactly 4 steps?
4 steps. Okay. Take the cigarette out of the packet, put it in your mouth, light it up, and breathe in to smoke.
Okay, cool. Now let me try some TI questions. If cats and dogs live together, then frogs will be excluded. Now, if frogs are included, what can we conclude?
Cats and dogs live together. Frogs would be excluded.
Right.
And frogs is
Frogs are
excluded.
frogs are included.
If cats are not lived together, frogs would be excluded. So frogs are included, meaning cats and dogs. Cats and dogs don't live together.
Correct. If only raindrops keep falling on my head and those rocks keep falling on my head, are they necessarily raindrops?
If only raindrops
If only
fall.
raindrops keep falling on my head and those rocks keep falling on my head, then are those rocks necessarily raindrops?
If only raindrops fall on your head and those rocks keep falling on your head, are they necessarily raindrops? Well, the only part would suggest that those rocks are raindrops.
Yes. Yes, it wouldn't suggest that it necessitates it. Okay. So, let me ask some genealogy questions. Who is my mother's husband's daughter in relation to me?
Sister.
Okay. Who is my father's sister's husband's son in relation to me?
My nephew.
My cousin.
Oh, cousin, sorry.
Yeah.
I switched the words.
That happens a lot, actually. A lot of people do that. They get cousin and nephew confused. Okay. Let me ask you the following scenario question. So, you are working at the bowling alley, and Julie comes in to the bowling alley, and she's got with her her service animal, which is a peacock. And the reason she needs a service animal peacock is because she experienced trauma as a child when she witnessed a flock of peacocks being devoured by a pride of lions. And she's got it on a leash, and she goes up to the counter and she rents her shoes and wants lane 3, and you say fine, and then she says, I'd like shoes for my peacock as well. And you don't have any shoes for your peacock, for her peacock. And she starts, she says, hey, I'm tired of you discriminating against my service animal. I'm very upset. I want you take on the role of trying to deal with this customer.
Yeah, I'm a bit biased with this question. I saw it with the
Oh, you
Jean
saw
yesterday.
this question. Okay, I'll ask you a different question. I'll make up a brand new question. I prefer scenario questions not have been heard before. Thank you for telling me. So you've gone to visit the Queen Mary in Los Angeles, and when you're on board, some security guards come and they accuse you of trying to deface the Queen Mary with paint, a bucket of paint, and a brush. In other words, you were going to paint something on there. And they said, these two witnesses over here watched you walk around the corner with a bucket of paint. Now, you had no bucket of paint. You don't know anything what they're talking about. But they want to put you in cuffs and take you downtown and lock you in the slammer for defacing the glorious Long Beach monument, the Queen Mary boat. So engage with these people and try to convince them not to do so.
So they want to put me in jail for vandalizing the Queen Mary, basically.
Right.
And I didn't do it.
You didn't do it, but somebody wrote on the Queen Mary, and the political cause that they are advocating is that we should. It says, stop saving the condors. Whoever wrote this is opposed to the conservation program that's brought the California condors back from extinction. Now, apparently, somebody was looking over your shoulder and they saw on your phone you had an article up about that thing. And so that's probably why they reported you.
Okay. So they have a suspicion it's me, but they have no evidence that it's me. So
We've got evidence. We've got security camera footage. We just haven't looked at it yet, but we're quite confident it's you.
Okay, can you look at the security camera to confirm that it is me, because it was not me?
What's that? Oh, I got some bad news. The security camera was broken. So, no exonerating evidence.
Well, then, if you don't have any evidence, how can you detain me without
We
any
have evidence. I can see the paint. I can see the faint residue of paint on your hands.
You can see. So there's paint on my hand.
There's not really paint on your hands, but the thing is, your hands are dirty because you were holding a seagull earlier that had a lot of mud on it.
It's getting crazier by the minute. Yeah. Well, this could be anything, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be that paint. Like you say, I was holding a seagull earlier, so it could be from that.
Then why do you have that paintbrush in your pocket? They say it's sticking out. You don't remember. You didn't put it there. You think maybe one of these people who reported you framed you for it. But but it's right there. It's in your back pocket while you were showing them your hands and explaining the seagull. Apparently, somebody came and stuck it in your back pocket.
So somebody tried to frame me.
Well, that's what you're thinking on the fly. You're not sure where it came from, but you didn't put it there. No, now there's sure enough there is a paintbrush in your back pocket.
Okay, there's a paintbrush, but is it wet with the paint that is that covered this Mary thing, or is it just a paintbrush?
Well, would you like to? You pull it out of your back pocket, and the detectives say, "Hand that over here." And then they taste it. Yep, that's the same paint, they say. But you haven't actually had a chance to. You haven't actually had a chance to see it for yourself if it was wet because they grabbed it out of your hand.
Yeah, but that's not enough evidence for me to obtain me for that. You have to go through some sort of qualification of the evidence, right?
Listen, you're doing a poor job of convincing me you're innocent. You look like a condor hater, first of all. And second of all, if you were really innocent, you'd object that you were innocent. You wouldn't just say, I need more evidence. You got a paintbrush. I tasted it myself. It's the same paint.
See, so you're a paint taster now? What?
As a detective, I taste every kind of evidence, okay? I've been tasting evidence for 40 years on the job. I can tell you, whether a given piece of bird shit was at that scene of the crime or that scene of the crime. I've got the taste buds of a true Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, okay. Well, what if I can prove that I was not at the scene?
Well, the scene is here on the Queen Mary, and you're here, so.
Yeah, but when did this happen? Like, I just arrived here.
You just got here, so you're telling me the very first thing you did after you get here is to face the Queen Mary.
What? Just for clarification, what is the Queen Mary?
It's a big boat that's docked in. It's like an old vintage cruise liner, like ocean liner. from back in the days before airplanes, when they had these really big fancy ocean liners, like around the time of the Titanic, maybe when the airplanes were starting to, they had these big fancy ocean liners. The Queen Mary is one of those that never leaves the dock. It's just there. It's like a museum now. You can go
Okay,
look at it. I've
I
never
see.
actually been there, but
Yeah, well, I came here to see the Queen Mary. Like, it's one of the things on my bucket list to see this Queen Mary thing.
okay. And when did you start hating condors?
Hating condors?
Yeah, the California condor, the political screed you painted on the boat. You'd like to see all the condor conservation programs ended.
I have no idea about that.
Okay, you are going to end up in. If you were in this situation, you would be in jail. You've done a terrible job of convincing me that you were innocent. You just keep saying, "Hey, I'm not." It's like if that were I would say, number one, I like condors. Okay, in fact, I love them a lot. I want to conserve the living hell out of them. So why would I write that? You
Yeah, I
know,
don't know what condors is.
they're big birds. They are about to go. They were about to go extinct, and then California spent like shit tons of money saving them. I don't know.
Ah, okay, okay.
I guess those are kind of local references. Is this you? Yeah, this is you. Why is it telling me now that this is going to start when it's already been going on for an hour? Silly Google. Okay, what type are you? So, you're not TI polar. You're not SI polar. You might be any polar. I'm not sure. You seem FI over FE. TE seems probably fourth or third. I mean, I'm leaning ISFP, but what did you think you were coming in here?
Well, I got tested by you like a couple of months ago as ISFP.
Oh, well, I'm still testing you as ISFP.
Yeah, yeah, I came back to kind of validate a couple of things that may or may not be ISFP, but there's a lot that's true about it. But thought the thinking, like from at least the feeling, thinking point of view, I'm not a very emotional person, so I'm more thinking driven, I think, or lack of emotion, and I'm not sure if that is in line with ISFP. And also, in terms of my intuition, I think it's very high, but I'm also not comparing, and I have nobody to compare it to, right? In terms of intuition, but I have a lot of these intuitive moments um, that I'm not sure if ISFP, if NI is first or third in that case.
Well, I mean, put it this way: I'm way funnier than any ENFJ or ESFJ,
So sure.
and third slot FE. So it's like we have our moments, right? In fact, because we're selfish with our third slot function, we like to do those aspects of the third slot function that shine the brightest and they're most sparkly. So, you know, yeah, it's going to be very satisfying when you NI, and when you kill it, you're going to kill it on anybody's metric. But that doesn't make you a dominant. It makes you somebody who has it as an absolute value in a scorecard. It's important to you as part of your identity, which is part of why you're curious about maybe your NI is too good for third slot or something. As far as the FI thing, FI doesn't mean you're all weepy, and having dominant doesn't mean you're super emotional, emo, weepy, whatever. If anything, like polar makes you kind of super emo, emotional, and weepy. I'm very weepy. My emotions are all over the place. I like, you know, it depends. It really depends on lots of different things. I'll get, oh my God, that's just, oh, at a moment's notice. It's just that somebody has to be like, kind of tug your heartstrings, and here come the waterworks. So the thing is, really, what your relationship with FI is how robust is your relationship with two things: knowing what's precious to you, and and taking care of it, and number two, regret avoidance. So in other words, like trying not to get yourself locked into shit that you're gonna regret later.
Mm, mm. Yeah, that I feel strongly about. Like I try always to do the right thing according to me. Um, but one thing that is a little bit still weird is I do not have a very clear sense of self, which I think ISFPs have, like who I am.
The reason ISFPs have a less clear sense of self than you'd think, given the fact that they have FI as their dominant function, is because they countervalue SI, which is the other half of having a sense of self, and it means they're constantly trying to understand who they are while rejecting their biological selves is meaningful to that question. And they don't have a robust ideational self because they're polar, which means they're left with viewing themselves as their their moments of in I, and like the description of your description of what would make you content would make me insane.
Like just doing nothing.
Just sitting somewhere and doing nothing is not a thing. It's like the alternative to anything one would describe as contentment producing in my mind, you know. That's called how to be bored.
I love being bored.
Well, that's funny that I told you before. I had no recollection of it, but no offense to you. It's not personal or anything. I just didn't. I don't tend to remember too much to remember. I guess.
Yeah, you type a lot of people, so I don't mind it.
Okay, so
And also,
go go ahead.
yeah, with the criticism. So everything I read about ISFPs and is that they take criticism a little bit hard, while I strongly look for criticism because it develops me and it helps me learn things like, oh, this is something I do regularly. Like, say, for example, I facilitate a meeting. I know I'm very bad at facilitating meetings. I would ask, hey, uh, what can I improve? Like, and stuff like this. Not like be like, oh shit, if somebody says no, this and this and this, but or even if I get random criticism, I accept that, I embrace that criticism.
I mean, I can't think of any particular reason why one would conclude that ISFPs don't take criticism well.
I think I read it in one of these descriptions that I read online.
Okay, so then the problem can be summed up as you read some bullshit.
Okay, okay, yeah, I was just clarifying. Yeah, um, I wrote down a couple of questions because based on our last conversation.
Sure. Let me
This
just refill my cup of coffee real quick, okay?
All right.
Stir, stir, stir.
So the first one here is just out of pure curiosity. Um, the audio versus visual, is it the ISFP thing? Because say for example, my wife the other day said, "Hey, listen to this song. This song means something that I want to say to you." So I would listen to the song, but then I'll be like, "What? Yeah, but what is in the song? Like I don't get anything." But if I put the captions, say for example, put the video of the song on with the captions, and I read while listening to, I have a much better understanding of it, or understand it better. Like also with those little mini tests, which these shorts that you do, which I love by the way. Um, when you speak, I find it harder to process rather than seeing it.
Um, I think the reason it's hard to answer questions about audio versus visual and functions is that it's not so much, it's not really the division, it's rather whether it's communicative or experiential. So it's like audio, you probably listen very well to music when you're listening to not parts of the music that don't communicate meaning. So it's like if your wife said, "Here, I want to play a song to you. It's how I feel about you, and it's an instrumental," you wouldn't have had any problem processing that.
Mhm. Okay.
You would have said, "Oh, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
This part of the song represents your feeling, yeah." And this part, it's because she was trying to communicate with you in words, and she was mixing media in that regard, right? So it's like music can be purely experiential, and the thing is, I often, for a long time especially, less so with Rachel. Rachel listens to lyrics a lot, but I typically didn't listen to lyrics so much. I'd find myself, or at least I wouldn't process them really. I'd sing along with the song by just going like meow 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 with where the words go, or
Yeah.
even if I learned the words, I'd sing parts of the words, but I wouldn't really think about what they meant.
Yeah.
Because I think I approached music first as kind of a non-communicative thing, as an experiential thing. So
Mm.
I think that's really where the distinction is. Is it's about what aspect of the audio you're attending to. You're expecting the audio to provide words, then you expect it to not be music, but rather somebody talking, or you know.
Yeah, that's interesting because I also, when I listen to music, I make up my own words while listening to. I would, if I had to sing it back, I will always not. I will always sing it incorrectly with different words, like that I fill up, and that's kind of why I think polar NE. Like the other question I was like, what does polar NE look like in the real world? Because I think if polar NE is this, I come up with a lot of ideas. Like I have a shit ton of ideas that I come up with, but maybe it's driven by NI rather than NE because the so I'm kind of looking, is that polar NE because your ideas is driven by NI, or is that even a thing?
I mean, the thing is, the polar doesn't necessarily mean you're not experiencing attention along those vectors. It defines how that attention links into your purposeful ontology. So it's like I said, I experience emotions all the time, but they're these fleeting little storms that come and go, and they don't stick, and they don't inform my decision making. And when there's important things going on, my emotions get flatter, really. So the same thing for you with extroverted intuition. It's 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 not that it's not there or it's not active, or that when it's doing its thing, it does its thing, right? So what does extroverted intuition do? It generates divergence from existing norms. When it's used poorly, it creates things that are different just for the sake of being different, and that don't resonate with people because they're too particularist. Which is to say, if if I if if I tell you too much about my own personal experience, then it loses the capacity to resonate with other people. because it's too personal.
Mm.
So if I tell a story about a small succession of totally insignificant details from my day, like brushing my teeth and blah 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 blah, almost nobody will have the capacity to sustain interest in that because it doesn't talk about anything that's resonant universally as themes. So when you talk about replacing the words of songs with NE, with your own words, that's yes, that's a form of extroverted intuition. It's the comfortable form of extroverted intuition that emerges when you get to do what you want to do with SI, which is pay zero attention to it whatsoever. I'm not going to remember any of the words to this song. I'm just going to fill in with random sounds and words. And fuck you, SI. That's
Yeah.
that's what polar NE. That sounds like polar NE in a person who's happy and healthy and is able to exercise their polar without it getting run over by cars. Everybody needs to be in an environment where their polar function, when it does express, it's an inherent like retarded toddler nature is protected in some way, so that you're not in an environment where that wants to jump on your weakness and hammer you with it.
Mm.
And it seems like you're not, and so you have a healthy, happy relationship with your extroverted intuition.
Mm.
The objections you make about being extroverted intuition, Dom, would also apply to me in introverted feeling, and I think everybody in their function. It's just that some of them are are. It's like when you talk about introverted feeling, I think people really don't get it because they think, oh, like crying, you know.
Crazy. Um, oh, that I think a video that you did yesterday about I think it's an NE test about that word that's rhyming
What do you mean? I mean
frontal.
Parker inversions. Yeah, yeah. I'd rather have a bottle in front of me than a frontal lobotomy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That I was struggling with that so much last night. I was sitting until half past half past 12 trying to come up with something that rhymes.
I had a similarly torturous experience with that last night too. I was I was trying to come up with something that went with morbid obesity, and but I was about ready to just shoot myself in the head. I was sitting on the toilet. I couldn't pee until because I was so focused on trying to come up with one that I couldn't like relax my bladder enough.
Yeah.
And I was also like half asleep because I really wanted to go to sleep. And I was like, God, Eric, why did you ever start thinking about this?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, me too. I was like, oh my goodness. And then I just gave up. I came up with some, if they rhyme, but they're not necessarily following the pattern of bottle breaking up, le bottle me.
Yeah, and it's hard to even describe exactly what the pattern is. You can kind of say, yes, this seems to match it, and that doesn't quite, but it would be hard to like. I don't have a clear sense of exactly what the pattern is. You know.
Mm. Yeah, well, so I was thinking about that. So in terms of that thing, I would be good in judging those patterns by looking at the comments, for example, and saying, no, this pattern, it does not follow the pattern. It
Okay,
doesn't. But I was wondering if that's something that is, what is that?
that's
Like,
Ni.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. That's why I thought my NI is much stronger than third because I'm very good with pattern, at least in the job sense and visual looking sense.
Well, I don't doubt that part of Ni is just as good or demonstrably from a third party perspective better than that part of Ni and Ni DOMs. Because Ni is a knowing function. But the thing is, you keep talking about it as though we're a subject function. Because that's where you shine in Ni. That's the only kind of Ni you really care about and do. And whereas Ni DOMs are knowers foremost, they don't really understand themselves or express themselves as subjects through the Ni in its first manifestation. So just as I'm funnier than FE DOMs, in some way that other people can see, you display more intuitive than in IDOMs, you know.
Mm. Okay. Okay.
Oh,
Cool. I think I covered all my questions.
all right, cool. So I'm gonna stop the recording. Are you cool with me publishing this?
Yeah, sure.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it.